Get your ears wrapped around the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast. All the scoop you need to know, from college basketball to the NBA and even March Madness. News of your rising stars, topics on and off the hardwood. This is the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast.
And welcome to the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast. I'm your host, Pauline, and there's been some things just going around right now when it comes to college basketball, because now is recruitment season. Guys are deciding, and girls are deciding where they want to attend college and what they want to do for their future when it comes to playing basketball. And so it's a pretty big deal where you decide to play basketball, and depending on where you go can really just determine your success. It can play a great deal in where you go from there. If you're trying to play the professional level or not, it has a big deal. Now, there's some players that will be able to pick the cream of the crop. They have these coaches pursuing them, and they actually get to decide between perhaps their choice school or their dream school, or a school that they've been wanting to go to. And then there's also some other schools that may be pursuing them, and they get to have options, and they get to visit these schools and get kind of there's rules on how much a team and their coaching staff can recruit them, and what they can do, and how they access these players, these potential recruits, right? And so they may bring them out, and for a visit, they'll take them to a really nice dinner. They'll have them, meet the players, hang out with the guys, whatever. And that ultimately may or may not influence a high school senior on where they want to go. And so another way to kind of recruit a player is by letting them know that by coming to our team, you're going to be very successful. And look at all of our alum, and look at all the other successful players that have gone through our program. Look at they may even find out that a player looks up to, one of these seniors looks up to a player that is an alum from their school, and will tell them look at this, have them contact them and have them there for dinner. So it kind of influences them. And I mean, at 17, 18, 19 years old, it's really cool, to have all of this happening for you and all this set up for you. And it does persuade them on where they want to go. But basically, the reason why I bring this up is because I know that most of you guys know the recruiting process and understand that these teams are basically just trying to influence them to like them. They're just trying to get these players, these seniors, to like them. And Rutgers has put out and social media is another way, okay, to kind of make their schools look attractive. And so Rutgers actually tweeted a graphic that said that was kind of promoting their school and promoting their men's basketball program. And basically it was saying that the coaching staff, basically it was just saying over $1 billion earned by players who have continued on to the NBA that have been coached by Rutgers coaching staff. So it was kind of a misleading graphic, because when you're looking at the graphic, you're looking at these guys that are very high profile players in the NBA and who are making very good salaries and making really good money in the NBA. But then when you look at it, you're like, okay, these guys didn't all go to Rutgers. And so actually, for the majority of the players on the poster, they were actually former UConn players. So it's kind of like, what are you doing? And so, I thought it was actually pretty funny because, not Rutgers, UConn quoted their tweet, Rutgers tweet that contained this infographic, and they were like, hey, don't forget to give us like a shout out, like, like tag us in this because, so it kind of was confusing and it was kind of hilarious because it's like, why would Rutgers post an infographic utilizing players that that never attended the school, that did not play for the program? And so it's kind of like, what are you doing? But they decided that this was a good marketing strategy because assistant coach Carl Hobbs and then coach Steve Pickiel, they just were brought on to the Rutgers coaching staff, and they both have spent some time coaching for UConn, and some of those players were there at UConn at the time that these two coaches were still there. So technically, Rutgers coaching staff has influenced these players that have gone off to have great NBA careers, but they weren't at Rutgers. Neither the players or the coaches were at Rutgers while this interaction came to pass. So it kind of makes sense to me. It kind of doesn't make sense to me. Like, I get it, but I don't like it. And I just think it was kind of funny because, technically it's not true. Technically it is true. These players did get, mentored by the coaching staff that the new potential recruits that are coming to Rutgers are going to be under. But I just thought it was funny because it's kind of like one of those things that, like, I don't know. I don't know. It just, they just have a lot of UConn players. Like, those players did not go to the school, and perhaps maybe, but see, I don't think it would have worked if they would have put the coaches' faces on there, because like sometimes there are some coaches who their faces are highly recognizable, like they're high profile coaches, and so like we recognize them and things like that right off the bat. But then it's more easy to recognize these NBA players rather than the coaching staff. So maybe that's why they didn't use the coaches' pictures and they use player pictures. And like the players that they use, like they use pictures of them in their like NBA uniforms. Clearly they're not going to use their college pictures because like they just, I don't know. So, in this case, Rutgers kind of like helped UConn, I guess, because these players went to UConn. So like I would rather go to UConn. But then I guess if you think about it, those coaches aren't there anymore at UConn. But it was like, like Carl Hobbs was just an assistant coach. So, and he's an assistant coach now at Rutgers, which is fine. But I don't know. It just kind of confused me. It blew my mind. I thought it was hilarious. And I just felt like I wanted to share that because it's just funny how crazy recruiting can be, and the things that schools will do to try to get these players to come or just even consider coming to their schools. And so I just thought that was a lot of fun and that it was just kind of just hilarious. But moving along. So another funny thing that has come out is so NBA 2K is a beloved basketball game, and it's pretty much it's beloved by guys and girls, whether you play basketball or not. But a lot of even still like professional players like who grew up playing the game really enjoy the game. And now one of the cool fun things is that the game gives rankings to the players, and so you can see like how they rank against some of the other players in the NBA, and it kind of like it grades like their 3-point shooting, their different abilities, right? And so it compares them to other players on your team. So two funny things happen. One, Draymond Green's 3-point percentage on NBA, and it's based off your real life stats, right? It's based off like your real life performances. And so they try to make the players as accurate as possible. So like their abilities are match up with the real life character. And so they like, it's just like a true life game that you can play. And so, Draymond Green, his 3-point percentage on like his ranking on the game was given a D-. And I mean, Draymond Green, I mean, he's definitely not a splash brother, but he's not a terrible 3-point shooter. Like almost like that's an F basically. Like a D- is pretty much an F plus. Like, so he was giving a pretty bad grade on that. And then Andrew Wiggins, see, I think that the younger guys kind of take it a little bit more seriously than like the older guys in the NBA because they grew up playing it, but then they want to act like they don't care, but they kind of do care. But then, you know what I mean? Because like if you don't really care, then you wouldn't mention it. But then, so my boy Andrew Wiggins, he was given a ranking of 82, and that would put him behind like the Celtics Isaiah Thomas and things like that. And so he was just Karl Anthony Towns, you know, and Andrew Wiggins is a very good player. And so he claims he doesn't care and he wasn't hurt by this ranking, but he went to Twitter and was like, this is why I only play Call of Duty. So, I mean, he wasn't hurt. He's claiming that he wasn't, but clearly he was feeling some type of way because he went to Twitter and had to discuss this. Well, I guess not discuss it, but just take a stance on this. And I mean, it's just a video game and it doesn't really matter. It's just for fun. But then clearly Andrew Wiggins, I guess, will not be getting a copy of the video game. So, but we actually have to cut it to a quick break real quick. And when we come back, I want to discuss Dwayne Wade's tragedy and how he is trying to use that to better Chicago, as well as Chris Bosh and the Heat and his future with them and some of the things that's going on with him in that organization. So keep it locked here. You're listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast.
Are you looking for help for your fantasy football team? Check out the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. Get today's best advice on who to start, who to sit, even who you should draft. From sleeper picks to red hot lineups, they got it all covered for you. That's GSMCpodcast.com/fantasy-football-podcast. We'll cover traditional leagues, dynasty, PPR, even IDP leagues. When you need fantasy help, there's just one show to hit up. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
And welcome back to the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast. I'm your host, Pauline. And so before the break, I mentioned that I wanted to discuss Dwayne Wade's life. Well, not his life, but something. Okay, so Dwayne Wade. We know him from being basically the face and the everything for the Miami Heat. He was a leader there. He spent, I believe, 13 seasons with the Heat, so quite a while. And just this free agency, we discussed how he has decided to go back home to the Chicago Bulls. And, you know, that's great. I definitely did not have any problems and do not have any problems with him deciding to go back home. And one thing that I like about Dwayne Wade is that he voices his opinion and that he stands up for things that he believes is right. And he uses his, you know, unique celebrity platform to bring to light certain issues. And most recently, his cousin was actually killed. Nakia Aldridge was killed in Chicago. She was shot in the head. And tragically, she was shot. And she was like kind of just caught in the crossfires, pushing her baby and near a school where she was going to register her kids. She has 4 children that she has left behind. And it's very sad because it's not just sad because she's Dwayne Wade's cousin. It's sad when anybody loses their life. But it's very sad because she was, you know, just caught like it. And it wasn't even a case of being in the wrong place at the wrong time. She was doing what she was supposed to be doing, you know. Reports have said that she was just going to register her children for school. So she was just doing her motherly duties, but was caught in an area like where she was walking just happened that, gunfire broke out, and supposedly it was based upon an Uber driver argument, like an argument that these people were having with their Uber driver or because of an Uber driver, excuse me. I'm not quite sure about that detail. But they people have been getting questioned about that, and so the police are doing their best to kind of figure out what is going on and what happened with all of that. But Dwayne Wade has so ESPN had a town hall meeting, and Dwayne Wade spoke there, and I believe it was his aunt and his mother, who's a pastor in Chicago, also were present and said their pieces about what was happening and things that they can do better to better that area and his hometown. And, I think it's very sad, because I think this is like his second cousin who has died in a similar fashion. And so it's very, very sad for him and his family right now. And I'm sure that they're going through a lot. And I just wanted to say that I do like how he has, okay, so clearly this is hitting him close to home because this is his cousin and this is his family, and the babies that she left behind are his family, which honestly, not hindsight, but kind of like, I would not be surprised if he helps them not only just financially, but just helps in raising those kids, because that's the kind of man that he is, and that's the compassion that he has, and that's the love that he has for his family. And so that's why I think I think what I was going to say was that I think it's a very good thing that he has gone home. A lot of people were surprised, and even I was kind of, disappointed in Miami for not giving that man the money that he felt that he deserved and doing more to keep him there, when really he made that franchise these last, over a decade, the last decade. He has truly made that franchise, and people forget that LeBron would not have been able to be LeBron in Miami if Dwayne Wade did not take a step back and allow that to happen, because Dwayne Wade in the Miami Heat did not need LeBron. He had a champion, he was able to win before LeBron got there. But like I said, that's something different. So I think that speaks to his character. He was willing to let somebody else come into his team, make, some adjustments, and be part of that leadership when he was the leader. But I think it's a good thing that Dwayne Wade is going back home, and that he's able to perhaps be able to help his community in a different way through some, philanthropy, and I'm sure he's going to be doing more. I would not be surprised. I just feel like he's the kind of guy that's going to be very involved, and so I think it's going to be a very good thing for the city of Chicago and the Chicago Bulls as an organization, and how I can imagine him using his platform to help shape the Chicago area and what he can do. Cause he has a huge influence, and this is clearly something that is close to his heart and close to home, and greatly affects him, and has affected him before and is affecting him now. And so it's very sad what has happened. And like I said, hopefully him and his family, because I think, and it seems like they are very close, that they are able to kind of, get through this together. And especially for those children, her youngest was like an infant, was not, so it's a big thing that has happened in his family. It's going to shape their family for the rest of their lives. And so, like I said, I'm just very excited for what he's going to be doing, and to see what he's going to be doing in Chicago, and using his platform and using his influence to hopefully make some really good changes there. And I think a lot of people will listen to him, because he is such a great figure, and he has used his influence for good. Like, it's not like this is not the first time that he has spoken up or used his influence in a positive light for the community that he loves, not only just at home, but like when he was in Miami and things like that. And so I think it's going to be a very good thing. I'm very sad for him and his family at this time, and it is very tragic, and I hope that the police are able to, get down to the bottom of it, and to be able to solve this murder, and to make sure that it's brought to justice, the person who has done this. I don't know what that was, but so anyways, speaking of the Miami Heat, Chris Bosh is another one of those guys that was part of that era of the Heat with the big three, LeBron, Wade, and Bosh, and he is trying to make a comeback. So we're going to cut it to a break real quickly, but when I come back, I wanted to just kind of discuss his comeback and what he's going through right now with the Miami Heat, as well, and his health and future in the NBA. So keep it locked here. You're listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch, whatever it may be.
Welcome back. I always start the segment saying and I just realized that about myself. But anyways, so right before the break, I was discussing I brought up that Chris Bosh is wanting to come back to the NBA. He has posted on social media, clips and pictures of him working out. He's looking really good. Things are really starting to look a lot better for him. Now, if you remember, so Chris Bosh plays for the Miami Heat. And back in February of this year, so kind of like middle, early, late-ish kind of the season, so February, Chris Bosh actually had to sit out, and he had blood clots in his lungs. And I remember at that time it was a very scary situation, I'm sure, for him and his family, because that's not something that you can't play when you have this kind of a condition, and that you have to really take care of yourself. And he actually had to miss their playoff run. He had to sit out. He still is kind of like, I don't want to say in recovery mode at this time, but he still has not been cleared. And so he has been, his family is growing and is beautiful, and he's been spending time with his family and his wife and things like that, which I think is great. But I don't think anybody wants to be forced to retire or forced to stop playing the game. And I think that that's this area, this quandary that Chris Bosh is in right now, is that his competitiveness and the way that he feels physically right now at this time is that he does feel that he can come back and make a comeback, and that he should be able to come back. And if he can get cleared, that he's ready. He wants to get back in the game. And now the thing about it is right now that the Miami Heat haven't taken him back yet. They haven't said yes or no. They haven't decided whether or not he's coming back for this next season. And so right now what is happening is that he is at a place where he would they haven't really discussed what his future is with the Miami Heat. So there's two things that come with that. So there's two different perspectives I have when it comes to what's going on with this entire situation. So Chris Bosh, his health is very important because this is something that could kill him, right? And although he is still very competitive, of course he has a competitive nature, and because he still feels that he's got some years still left in him as far as like for his career and what he wants to achieve and wants to do, he does not want to stop yet. And he doesn't want to end his career at this time. And so but then the Heat, like I said, are not really responding yet. So, okay, it could be two things. So one, it really could be that because they want him to get cleared, they're going to decide and kind of agree on a physician that is going to do an overall health assessment of Chris Bosh and kind of determine his health moving forward and whether or not he can continue to play, because this, like I said, this is something that could potentially kill him, and it's not to be taken lightly. So there's that, because and we're not quite sure what will like determine whether or not he's healthy enough, and like health is kind of like a difficult situation to discuss because we can't really, there's privacy, patient confidentiality, and just what he chooses to or not to share is ultimately his decision. So, but then the other thing that has kind of made it a little bit of a sticky situation is the money. So Chris Bosh, his salary, basically, if they don't, clear Chris Bosh, and if they waive his salary from the salary cap, that opens up a lot of money that the Heat could have and that the Heat could use elsewhere. So that's why I really think it's a sticky situation, because this is something that's very delicate, because it is a man's health and it's a player's health and it's his life ultimately as well. But we have also discussed how the NBA is a business, and if you don't have Chris Bosh on your team and you don't have to spend Chris Bosh money, you have space and I was going to say calorie space, but salary space that you could utilize elsewhere. And so that's why I think it's kind of a little bit of a sticky situation, because as of right now, Chris Bosh is saying that he feels healthy, that he feels that he's doing well, and that he's ready and he wants to be ready, and that he's been preparing himself to be ready for when that opportunity comes. But I don't know. It's really, like I said, it's a very sticky situation, because he's been sitting out since February. He's been resting. He's been getting his health back together. He's been starting in, growing, not starting really, but growing his family. But he doesn't want to be done. And it's kind of right now, since with his contract situation with the Heat, he's gotta, they have to come to terms. They have to agree to some terms. They have to either agree that they're going to bring him back and they're going to try this out again, and we're going to see how well his body can handle it. Because you don't want to sit out too long. You know what I mean? You don't want to have too much of a gap between your, since like the last time you've played to when you try to come back. So you don't want to sit out too much. But then at the same time, like, I don't know, that's a lot of money that they can put somewhere else. So we'll see what happens with that. I'm actually not quite sure when he's going to be cleared to, or, when this health evaluation is going to take place and whether or not he will be cleared. I'm not sure when that announcement's going to be made. I'm not sure when they're going to decide whether or not to waive him based upon that decision, or maybe not even based upon that decision. I don't know. So I hope, of course, for the best of Chris Bosh, that he is healthy and that he's able to continually stay healthy, and for, like his family and things like that, because he, like I said, he's growing a family, and so they need him around. And so I'm wondering what is going to happen next with his career, whether or not, does he just maybe go to a tryout and try to do something and fit on a different team? I don't know, because he's the last of the three when it comes to that, Heat big three. And so I would assume that they would want him to stay on the team, but, money is money, and, money does speak louder than a lot of other things for some people. So that's kind of like my piece on Chris Bosh and whether or not he will be coming back. I guess we'll just have to wait and see, hopefully. But that is kind of going to wrap it up for this episode of the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast. It's kind of, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm very interested to see, like I said, Dwayne Wade and how he's going to use this tragedy to better his city and better the people and his family. And I'm also very excited to see what's going to be happening with Chris Bosh. And hopefully he will be able to come back, if he is healthy enough and his body can handle it at this time. And if he's medically cleared, I hope that, something works out with the Heat. So, like I said, that's going to wrap it up for this episode of the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast. I'm your host, Pauline. Of course, you can find me on Twitter at GSMC_basketball, as well as listen to this episode and any future or previous episodes on our network website, gsmcpodcast.com. You can follow me, follow the podcast on iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, and Stitcher. It's been fun. When we come back next time, I kind of want to discuss Craig Sager and the Sacramento Kings app. I'm excited for that. So let's stay tuned for our next episode. We out.